All right, we're diving into a really fascinating codex today. It tells a story about our own forgotten history, a journey into humanity's sealed abilities and, well, why they might be coming back right now.
So let's just start with this huge question that kind of flips everything on its head. What if everything we've ever called magic wasn't just superstition? What if it was an actual biological function that we've all just forgotten how to use? This isn't about fantasy. It's about a lost chapter of our own story. You see, according to this text, magic wasn't originally something you did, it was part of what you were. It was this intelligent, responsive system, as natural as your own nervous system. The source even calls it humanity's native language, something as innate as breathing.
To really get this, we've got to go way, way back. The first era described here is Lemuria, what the text calls the Heart Era, and this was a time when human consciousness was centered in a totally different place.
So what did that look like? Well, you're seeing things like telepathy, a kind of deep emotional telepathy, plus dream walking, healing. But the most important thing to understand is that this was never about power over anything. It was communal, it was embodied, and it was all based on emotional coherence, a totally relational kind of intelligence.
But then, things started to change. We move into the next big era, Atlantis, and this marks a profound shift away from the heart and into the structured, analytical intelligence of the mind.
And at first, this was incredibly powerful. The Atlanteans didn't just get rid of magic, they organized it. They refined it into these amazing structures and technologies, sacred geometry, frequency tools, crystal grids. They were basically mapping the entire architecture of consciousness itself.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly, right? On one side, you have Lemuria's relational, heart-based knowing. On the other, you have Atlantis's structured, mind-based power. It's really the difference between feeling the flow of a river and building a giant dam to control it. A huge shift from intuition to technology.
But a shift that big? Well, it's going to have consequences. As the mind began to overpower the heart, that partnership with nature turned into trying to control it. Harmony just kind of fractured into ego, trauma, and the misuse of all this powerful tech. The whole system just got completely out of balance.
And this imbalance, it eventually led to a total collapse. In the wake of that, the Codex says the elders of the time made a conscious, deliberate choice, something called the Great Sealing Agreement. And just look at what they put away. We're talking about things like probability shifting, the ability to actually influence outcomes, direct communication through feeling, being able to perceive energy fields. These abilities weren't just sealed, they were hidden in plain sight, turned into our myths and our legends.
And the source is really clear on this point. These ancient myths, they were not metaphors. They were literal descriptions of what was once considered a normal baseline human capacity. They were just encoded into stories to keep them safe.
So you have to ask, why? Why seal away these incredible abilities? Well, as this slide shows, it wasn't a punishment. It was an act of protection. Trauma and ego were spreading like wildfire, and our power had just completely outpaced our wisdom. So the elders made an unthinkable choice. They hid our higher functions to protect humanity from itself. Okay, but here's the thing. That story isn't over, not by a long shot. The entire reason we're looking at this codex is because that long era of forgetfulness, it's coming to an end. We're shifting from the ancient past right into the immediate present. This quote really changes everything, doesn't it? It wasn't a punishment, it wasn't stolen from us, it was an act of self-preservation. We basically hid our own gifts from ourselves until we were ready for them again.
And according to this source, that time is now. For the first time since that ancient collapse, something fundamental is shifting. And the text makes it really clear this change isn't happening out there in the stars somewhere, it's happening inside of us.
I mean, this is such a fascinating idea. It suggests the return of these abilities isn't just a passive thing, like a dam finally breaking. It's an active, intelligent process. The very mechanisms that held these abilities in check are now listening, responding to a change within us. And that brings this whole thing right back home, to a really personal level. The Codex ends this section with a question. It suggests that the key that unlocks everything, the signal the seals are listening for, is our own internal state. So, what does happen when your nervous system, after generations of trauma and survival, finally remembers what it feels like to be truly safe? Well, the source suggests the answer is magic remembers you.